Recently, I was lucky enough to get my hands on a DTLR Pro pressure washer. Now, when I did a video a couple of months ago, it was part of a detailing starter kit bundle. So we only really covered some of the basics and we hadn't really put it to the test. However, a few months have passed, I've been using this on a regular basis, so I feel that I'm ready to give you my honest opinions on what I liked and disliked about this machine. So here's a quick rundown of the specs of the DTLR Pro. It's got a 2000 watt motor, a flow rate of 570 litres per hour, and it can also run at 120 bar. And it even comes with a dial so you can adjust it accordingly depending on the job. Despite its size being compact, this weighs in at 31 kilograms, but to compensate you moving it around, you get a 5-metre power cable and you get a 15-metre high pressure hose. One thing I really love about the pressure washer is the convenience of having all the quick releases right where you need them. When you finish your job, simply unplug it and then you're good to go, put it back into the van and then get on with the next one. One thing you really do have to be careful of, and I've done this so many times, is when you take this lance off. So if you angle it like this, you've got to bear in mind there could still be water in the system. So when you pull it down like so, you get loads of water gush out. So if you haven't got waterproof shoes, I urge you to go and get some. And the same thing applies with the snow foam cannon too. The two foam cannons that are available on the website are both very good. You get a nice consistent blanket of foam and they aren't too thick either. The noise levels are definitely a talking point because pressure washers can be quite loud. However, this is as quiet as it gets for me. It's only 80 decibels, meaning it's not going to be too annoying for anybody near your workspace. Let's talk triggers because I have 4 here in front of me. 3 of them come from domestic pressure washers. In fact, we will take a quick look at them now. We have a little one here from Arva's smaller range of pressure washers. We have one here which, dare I say it, is probably one of the worst triggers I've ever seen in my life, and this comes from the Giraffe Tools pressure washer, which we may feature later in the channel next year. I don't know, we'll see how it goes. And I've got a Karcher as well. Now this is your standard K series. So all of these are only going to get you so far. If you're cleaning your car on the odd weekend, anything like this will probably just make do. However, if you're doing this from a business perspective, all of these won't be good enough. You really do need something like this. And the comparison between the DTLR Pro and any domestic trigger is night and day. The lance and trigger haven't suffered any leaks yet, and I'll admit it, I'm quite heavy-handed, so I'm not one to gently place it on the floor after use. One thing about this lance is because it is very light, you would automatically presume you would get a vast amount of back pressure. So if I was to hold it like this, press the trigger, with some pressure washers, when they're too powerful, you'd find this would just literally fly out of control. In fact, my friend Jeremy, who's got the Wayside Car Valeting channel, he had a very powerful Arva P80 and he put a very lightweight MTM lance on. What happens, because you've got so much power in the machine going through the hose, through the lance, it literally shot out of his hand and yeah, he could have smashed a window. It's a bit crazy, but thankfully you don't have that problem with a machine like this. This is why it's reduced down to 120 bar. So you've got a really significant level of control here. On the back, we have 4 nozzles. And to be honest, I've only really needed to use one of them because I've not really felt the need to use anything else. I just want to quickly bring this to your attention because the hose is probably one of the best that I've ever used. And I'm not just saying that because I've tested hundreds of pressure washers and tools and accessories. If I was to be negative in any kind of way, I'd say this having a brass quick release could be improved by having stainless steel. But other than that, I mean, it's near on perfect. Going back to the weight of the DTLR, you need to be very careful not to put your back out or your shoulder if carrying it with one hand. So ideally it needs to go on some sort of trolley. The good news is there is some alternatives out there that you can get your hands on. In fact, I have a wall mount here which has got wheels, so you can use it like a caddy. I think this would have been good if I could have just a bit more height here because you're still dragging it along because it's so low down. So I wouldn't say this is my favourite thing, and I might try and mount it on later on. So you put the pressure washer on here, you can have the hose reel, you can connect it all up, and it's just one complete system. For sticking something like this onto the wall, I mean, this is ridiculously heavy, and this is definitely no feather pillow. So I would be very cautious about mounting that onto the wall unless you are somebody who's very good at DIY and you know what you're doing. Warranty-wise, you get 12 months. Now, I really strongly do advise that you get this serviced every 12 to 24 months at least if you are going to be using it on a regular basis. Because it is a commercial machine, you want this to be lasting you many years to come. Also, you do want to keep an eye on those oil levels. Let's talk money, because the cost of this pressure washer with the 15-metre hose and this trigger here as well will set you back for around £725. Now, from a business perspective, that's a good investment. If you look at some of their finance options, they do 4 months at 0% interest, and that works out at around £181. Or you can actually get it for 21% interest, and you can cut that cost down with Klarna. So from a business perspective, it's actually pretty good value for money. And if you think about using this for long term, it really does make sense. And when you think about the cost of something like a Karcher K7, which is just falling shy of £500, going for something like this is pretty much a good move. To sum it up, there is nowhere for you to put your lance, there's no cable reel, and there's no hose reel, but we cannot judge this like your typical domestic pressure washer, because this is actually a different animal altogether. Now, if we were going to look at this and say, what is it actually like for being a tool used for detailing, I would say that this is absolutely brilliant. And I'm sure some of you could argue that 120 bar may not be powerful enough for what you need, but the bar pressure only tells half the story. The other half is all about the chemicals. Now, if you want to see a video that features a wide range of different brands, then you can go and watch this video right here.